and we're going to get to work on
Portuguese
this.
and their Jesuit allies could provide these goods via their new southern China base of Macau, and in large quantities too. They slipped swiftly and neatly into the role
Learning about Japan and the West in their first 500 years.
funding their Japanese.
This is a Japanese history documentary of 1298 to 1854.
Meanwhile, news of the Jesuits' exploits
No
began to
Australia.
account around the warring Europe. Wars caused by cracks in the image of the one true God the Jesuits had been peddling in the East. You shall understand that the Hollanders have here an Indies of land. For out of Holland there is no need of silver to come into the East Indies. In Japan there is much silver and gold. So wrote William Adams.
This is the Dark Carnage Bowl. That's what this piece, this back piece, has its own name.
Strange land fate.
Dark Carnage Bowl.
The ship, the Dutch vessel De Liefde, had wrecked in Kyushu in 1600. This new world. He had come from a world torn in two by sectarian struggle.
Cliff's in here with a bunch. What's for dinner, Cliff? Is it beef jerky again? I'm having burgers, chess burgers, homemade bread. My wife just turned cream, heavy whipping cream, into butter and milk, and that's really good. It's actually cheaper to do it that way, if you like drinking the milk like I do. Alright, let's kind of start with the background, right? So let's make it match my other book. So we're going to start by trying to match those clouds I have in the sky.
At first ambitious and ruthless men of Elizabeth's first
here.
school, like Drake, Hawkins, Cavendish and Raleigh, today among England's most revered national heroes, turned pirate and raided Catholic settlements and ships in the Atlantic, pillaging and burning from Florida to Brazil. Francis Drake achieved the second planetary circumnavigation when the threat of Spanish attack persuaded him to cross the Pacific rather than running the Atlantic gauntlet once more. In doing so, he named what is now California Nova Albion.
Yeah, that's alright. Not too many clouds. I don't want it to distract too much. So basically the ground is right here. This is going to be ground level. So I should kind of mark that with my pen here. We'll have kind of a similar ground. Brun. Brown is also known as Brun.
The vile, treacherous Jesuits trying to whisper lies of piracy into the ears of the emperor. Japan's ruler Tokugawa Ieyasu had proved uninterested in barbarian squabbles, but far more interested in milking this new kind of barbarian for as much intelligence as possible. He had been fascinated to hear how much information about Europe the Jesuits kept from him, in particular that Catholicism was not in fact a universal religion, as they had always claimed. Adams had been naturalized, granted 2 swords, the mark of a samurai, a large feat, a wife.
Good, thank you, Christopher. Appreciate that, brother. How you doing today, man?
In the shogun's ranks, court interpreter, trusted advisor, shipbuilder, and gunnery officer. He had a remarkable talent in the art of gunnery.
Throw down some smoke down here too, because I like that smoke on the other cover.
The most famous foreign-born samurai in history. The Catholics had been right to fear this moment, and what little trust Japan's rulers had had in them finally trickled away, as no doubt Adams and other Protestant visitors wasted no time in highlighting the Jesuits' the rules. Soon, the Indians and Dutch East India companies had set up trading posts, and by late 1613, Ieyasu had decided to act. then prelate Ishin Sudan to draft up a manifesto of exactly what spiritual life in Japan comprised, and what it did not. Japan was Shinkoku, the realm of its own divinities and spirits. The kami, purveyors of jakyu, pernicious creeds, must lead the realm. This not only comprised Catholics, but also other antisocial groups, including radical Buddhists. The first steps were deportation of fanatical foreign clerics with their most important disciples in 1614, and tolerance of common and non-extremist believers who were encouraged to revise their mistaken doctrines. And indeed, as most of the Catholics, numbering around 300,000, only slightly short of the modern figure with a population now 10 times the size, had been ordered to convert by their liege lords, often being baptized in groups of thousands, this caused few problems. And yet, it turned out that the Portuguese were not quite as devout as the Japanese had believed. Japanese sailors continued much as before. However, illicit missionaries continued to arrive, and a hard core of stubborn Japanese Catholics seemed reluctant to abandon their nefarious doctrines. The government saw that after centuries of bloodshed had warped Japan's very fabric, the unity and peace of the realm had to be maintained. Torture, it would have to be. An official report Yogo read said that the people who did not want to apostatize were naked with the rice bags which were piled along the river between Shijo and Gojo. At first, they were reciting prayers, but nobody seemed to care about them. They realized they were going to die of hunger and would earn no merit of fame. They all wanted to apostatize. They asked for help from the guards, who laughed a lot at this and freed them from their bags. Eventually, all Catholics, Japanese, Asian, African, and European, were expelled or annihilated. Japanese Christian refugee communities popped up all over Asia, and small groups and individuals traveled the world. One of these intrepid people was Petro Kibe. Kibe stumbled down the side of the ship to a waiting skiff. It was all that he could do to hold on. The voyage via Malacca in southern India had been the worst experience of his life. Expelled from his home in 1614 for his heretical Catholic beliefs, he had watched the sea forlornly throughout his voyage. Many of the crew had died, and in Goa, the hospital's meagre beds would swiftly fill with sick survivors. But one thing Kibe was sure, he was not getting on a floating coffin like that again. On discharge from the hospital, he walked out, and he kept walking. Nearly 3 years later, he reached Jerusalem. His route and his adventures are lost to history, but it is thought he walked via Baghdad. The first Japanese person to visit Palestine must have been shattered, and he reluctantly took ship for Rome, where he was ordained in 1620, finally fulfilling the reason for his earth-spanning odyssey. Now Father Kibe, he took a more conventional passage home, eventually reaching Japan in 1630. Able to blend in better than other missionaries, he managed to evade capture for 9 years while wandering the land, tending to forlorn Catholic communities. During the inevitable Anasurushi torture, he so incensed the guards by encouraging his fellow sufferers not to recant that they pulled him out of the death pit and ran him through. He was made a saint in 2008. Kibe was far from the earliest visitor to the Far West. Indeed, the first Japanese embassy to Europe had been decades before. Led by the later Jesuit Meisei Ito in 1582, it had been organized by Otomo Sorin, daimyo and early adopter of Catholicism, after meeting founding Jesuit Francis Xavier way back in 1551. The mission met 2 popes and numerous heads of state. Leaving a remarkable document, curated by Balignano himself, extol the virtues of the distant continent to the people back home. You will come to appreciate how wealthy and powerful the kingdoms of Europe are, but it is certain that the smallest European kingdoms contain at least 80 or 100 leagues, which equals 150 of ours. And with regard to the population and wealth of European cities and towns, they were so great as to leave us astonished. In 1613, a second European embassy followed, led by Hasekura Suminaga, making a stop in South America, becoming the first Japanese embassy to set foot in the New World, and spawning the remarkable story of a sword fight between samurai and Spaniards on arrival to Acapulco. And indeed, following this, Japanese men that settled in Mexico City seem to have exploited their skill with sharp blades to corner the city's barbering industry. Prominent Japanese exiles in Thailand formed the king's bodyguard, and in Cambodia and Vietnam, Japanese Catholic merchant families came to control much of the estate's international trade, often acting as middlemen for the Europeans. Few inhabited corners of the world did not see a Japanese person during the early 17th century. Back in the land of silver and gold, English merchants could not turn a profit, and left Japan voluntarily in 1623, 3 years after the death of their influential man at court, William Adams, who by this time was known on the sea lanes of East Asia by his Japanese title, Miura Anjin. By 1641, for all the Europeans, only the Dutch had stuck it out. As long as they confined themselves to the island of Dejima in Nagasaki, paid appropriate respect to Japan's rulers, removed all religious paraphernalia, submitted regular reports on world events, renounced arms, and supplied the desired commodities, the Dutch would follow. And so, finally, after many false starts, the era of Sakoku, closed country, had truly begun. The policy of Sakoku was not seen at the time as anything particularly strange. Indeed, in the 1640s, many countries restricted their international relations to some extent, and Japanese trade, in fact, increased for at least the first century. Even well into the 18th century, German Dr. Engelbert Kempfer, who lived in Japan for 2 years while in Dutch service, praised the Japanese government for ensuring eternal peace in the realm. It was only in later eras, when an increasingly aggressive Europe came to believe its divine right to travel and trade anywhere it chose, that Sakoku restrictions attracted serious criticism on the international stage. And of course, as before, during the long years of restrictions, desirable benefits were mostly welcome, so long as they obeyed the rules. Every year, hundreds of Chinese ships visited Nagasaki, the port designated for legal Dutch and Chinese trade. But the Chinese government still forbade trade with Japan and called all such merchants pirates as well. They declared false destinations before leaving their home ports, and then reappeared with contraband-laden junks later in the year. Korea was another avenue for Chinese goods. Japanese merchants from the western island of Tsushima operated from a restricted enclosure in the city of Busan. In addition, a route was carved to the south, where scores of sun-bathed, wind-ravaged islands stretched lazily like a rope down the Earth's curve towards Taiwan and China. The Ryukyu Kingdom, now known as Okinawa, which since a swift and brutal 1609 invasion had been under Japanese control. Very much as in the Caribbean, sugar and other plantation industries were established to serve an ever-increasing metropolitan demand for exotic luxuries. The locals were disarmed, thereby giving impetus to develop the ancient native arts of fighting empty-handed.
Xavier Fultz, what's up, buddy?
Method of defense, which after going through a number of mutations was reborn as the modern sport, now practiced by up to
What you having for dinner over there, bro?
around the globe. The key was the fact that despite the ongoing official ban on trade with Japan, China enjoyed an extensive official trade with Ryukyu, which included products such as ivory from as far away as Africa. So whenever a Chinese mission made port, the Japanese hid. Finally, an ever-growing trade developed with the indigenous inhabitants of the misty, ice-bound islands to the north. People who we know
Good, buddy.
today
I'm doing
as the
great.
Ainu of Hokkaido, but then were known as Ezo. The wild Ezo world stretched far north, well into what is now Russia. But in the 17th century, no one in much
Pretty fly. Yeah, he is flying.
hospitable, untamed lands.
Flying up in the sky.
Fur-clad, elaborately tattooed natives who were ripe for an exploitative trade in rich, local natural resources in exchange for rice, alcohol, and weapons. One trade product that endures on Japanese tables to this very day, salted salmon, stands out. A stable breakfast food and common filling for rice balls, it is one of the few
Watch Pokemon. Gotta catch 'em all. Pokemon. Pokemon.
Japanese simply enforced their
Gotta catch 'em all. Gotta catch 'em all.
immigration policies.
Yeah.
Modern states take for granted
Gotta catch 'em all.
before Western countries were strong enough to enforce such policies in their own.
I love Pokemon. I've spent more hours playing Pokemon, possibly, than any other video game, and that's just because it was my Game Boy. I had that mother effort everywhere. I don't even want to pretend to know how your art is the best art of all art. Thanks, I guess. Why you gotta say it like that, man? Why can't you just say it without the quotes? The quotes make me nervous. I don't even want to fathom a guess at how many hours I put into playing Pokemon. Minecraft, I know I've played for thousands, probably like 2,000 hours or something. But Pokemon, bro, I would be a bad boy just for even trying to guess.
He'd been proud of his voyage and of the titillating merchandise he had acquired for the journey home. After cheerfully displaying it on his ship cabin's walls, his plan was to store his secret treasure temporarily with the other goods. In the house of
I'm a Tyranitar kind of guy. Quote from The Office. Oh. Spent so many hours on Pokemon. Yeah. How old are you, Xavier? Let's try to see who's spent more time playing Pokemon. So I might not be the most knowledgeable, but I'm pretty good, man. I'm pretty good. It could be worse. Let's just put it that way. What game system do I have? I don't have any right now. I stopped playing. I'm talking like I played when that game first came out, non-stop. But right now I just have my computer. There's not enough Pokemon games on the computer. Steal, Nintendo.
The Dutch East India Company enjoyed a lucrative monopoly on direct Japanese trade with Europe for 2 centuries. They exported not only sugar pitchers, a commodity commonly sold by door-to-door peddlers in early modern Japan, but also silver, porcelain, furniture such as desks and cabinets, tea, exquisite works of art, expensive novelty gimmicks, and numerous other products. Japanese porcelain in particular reached a huge volume in the 17th century and copied and nativized styles like the willow pattern.
You're 16. I know automatically I've played more Pokemon than you because I played it for a long time. No, you may have played more Pokemon than me if you're super diehard, but I've probably logged 4,000, 5,000 plus hours into that game. That's just an estimate. I have no clue. No clue.
Such as telescopes, clocks, oil paintings, microscopes, eyeglasses, maps, wines, globes. Even exotic animals had found a ready market in noble Japanese circles. Lords and ladies,
I do not own a Nintendo Switch, unfortunately. I would, though. They're pretty cool.
Years later, the products would be found displayed upon guitar kits, ready to be enjoyed.
Like. Dude, I remember one of my favorite games I played, Pokemon Stadium 1, Pokemon Stadium 2, but more than that was, it was a game, I can't remember what it was called, it was for the GameCube, and it was called Pokemon, like, XD Darkness, or something like that, and it was, like, it was, like, one of the few Pokemon games for the GameCube, but that was a great game. You could, like, kind of roam around, and it had some RPG elements. I'm waiting for, like, a real MMORPG Pokemon game on the computer. I'd probably play a little bit of that, even though I ought not to.
Arai Hakuseki, earnest scholar and senior government advisor, secretly observed this
Pokemon Sword is pretty cool. Yeah, I've heard people think it's pretty good.
The European priest was needed.
There's just too many Pokemon games, man. I've played so many over the years. It's insane.
It was the 6th year of Hoei in the Japanese calendar, 1709 as the Catholics calculated it. This interrogation was a welcome diversion from the incessant intrigue of court, where Shogun Tsunayoshi, derisively called the Dog Shogun for his wielding of the death penalty for those who harmed canines, was attempting, against the wishes of his wife, to adopt his boy lover, the successor. Arai was personal tutor to the Shogun's officially adopted heir, his nephew Ieyasu. Any new candidate would be a disaster. Arai put aside his concerns and tried to concentrate on the matter at hand. The priest's name was Giovanni Battista Sidoti, and he was the first missionary in living memory to foolishly attempt to enter Japan illegally. By his own admission, he desired martyrdom and had come to Japan to achieve his dream. This extreme novelty had aroused Arai's interest, and he decided to talk with the man. The conversations that these two men had over the next months and years would be the first Japanese attempt for a century to understand the European world and its strange beliefs. Sidoti explained global geography, the religions of the world, and other matters of interest, and Arai recorded these ethnographic findings in several volumes. As a rule, in each section of the world, there is a doctrine that is held with esteem, in 3 different types. One of these is called Christian. This is the law of Jesus. The second type is called heathen or Gentile. When I asked him about this heathen law or sect, he told me that they erect numerous Buddhas and serve them. But if this was in fact teaching, he failed to explain in what it consisted. Sidoti was accorded unheard of privileges for a criminal and housed comfortably at a special residence built in 1646 to imprison stray missionaries. He was given relative freedom within the grounds as long as he agreed to strictly obey the rules on spreading his religion. But, of course, the priest was unable to resist, and when discovered, not even Arai could save him. Sidoti was left in a hole to die, his wish for martyrdom fulfilled. His bones were found exactly 300 years later, in 2014, during an archaeological excavation. But the legacy of Arai and Sidoti...
Thanks, buddy. I'll give you kind of a zoom in on what I'm drawing. This little tiny head up there, and it's going to be Dark Carnage once I'm done with him. So little. His head's about the size of my pinky nail, but he's going to look good.
The 18th and 19th century became a serious following. Alongside the traditional Chinese classics, European medical treatises, encyclopedias, and books on social systems, science, military strategy, geography, politics...
Yeah, bro, you can do it too. Just get a test book. Do a little test run on it. These are try these Posca pens. These are fun to use. Really easy to use. Find these on Amazon. They're like Japanese pens. They're pretty cheap. They're not that bad. But get a pack of those. Give it a try. It's fun.
Notable medical achievements included the first ever operation under anesthetic for breast cancer by the surgeon Hanaoka Seishu in 1804, and the introduction of vaccination by various doctors in the first half of the 19th century. The prime electricity. Simple instruments were developed in worlds. They sold widely as curiosities and were also used in scientific exploration, including the lifelike animation of dogs with static electricity, and on one notable occasion, the successful experimental electrocution of 100 schoolboys. The scientist responsible for that fiendish trick, Hashimoto Tsukushi, published Japan's first treatise on the principles of electricity in 1811. He described not only his own discoveries, but also those of Western scientists, such as Benjamin Franklin. And Franklin was not the only American statesman to rise to fame in Japan, despite it being only in 1809 that the Japanese found out the United States had become a country at all. After noticing
Playing Worms right now and watching you draw. Nice. That's cool, dude. I played that game. That's pretty entertaining. Playing that on your Nintendo or on the computer?
Several years before his death, the Americans established a new city and named it Washington in honor of his great service to the nation. Rumors of Washington's exploits would only rise in fame over the rest of the century, and that was where much of Japan's understanding from these distant lands came from. Second-hand sources through the Dutch.
Xbox Series X. Is that the new one? Yeah,
It
Xbox.
wasn't long before Japan was once again dealing with the West face to face.
You ever play Halo on the Xbox? That is a good game. Nice, man. So fun to have a new console. That fun will last you years, a year or two. Before it wears out. Where's that? It's welcome.
It was the first of several audiences at which Catherine was to quiz him carefully and listen to competing plans of how he could be used to open trade to aid in the development of the Russian Far East. Russia is the only European country that shares a border with Japan. And during the 18th century, Moscow's empire, which eventually extended as far as California, was struggling to develop its far eastern provinces.
Never played it, but it's loading right now. It's good. It's like oh, you're talking about Halo. Oh, okay. I was about to explain to you what Worms is like. Yeah, which Halo are you playing? Which Halo are you downloading? That game is so good. Most of them are good. Halo 3. First 3 Halos are really, really good. Especially if there's like that. I think there's a remastered Halo 1 that's got better graphics. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. That game is... I'm pretty sure I actually played a little the first level of it. And, yeah. It's good. The story is actually good. The cutscenes are not too long. That's a problem a lot of games have been having lately, is their cutscenes are way too long. Like The Witcher, I got that game, I was pretty stoked on it for a few days, and then I was like, this is not, I was just skipping every cutscene, and it was still a long time where I wasn't playing games. I was just watching him talk and talk and just going around doing like side quests, and I was like, this is boring. Halo 5 Guardians. Let's see. I played Halo Reach, and that was like an unofficial Halo 5, I think. I don't think I ever played Halo 5 Guardians, but it's probably pretty good. But if you ever get a chance to play the first 3 Halos, the remastered ones with the better graphics, so you're not playing on Xbox One graphics, give it a try, because they are a great story, and yeah, so it's just a really, really fun game to play. Makes you feel like you're really doing something, you know. Some games, I just feel like I'm getting really repetitive and doing the same thing over and over again, but with Halo, every level really felt like a all-new experience. It was very cool. Just almost every part of that game was great.
However, when other Russians tried to make good on these concessions in 1804, they were turned away.
Why are you the only person watching? Well, there's different reasons for that. Is because there's I could have chose a wrong time of the day, or there could be algorithm, or there could be something else going on. Like Ryan Stegman was streaming earlier, so probably more people would be watching him than me. But you never really know. But that's okay because I stream a lot, so it's okay if some of them don't have any people or they just have one person. That's fine. And the guy who ordered this book usually watches all of them, but I think he's busy too. It's the holiday season, so I usually don't get more than one or two viewers. So it's cool that you're hanging out. You don't feel free to ditch though, because I don't really actually expect people to watch these. If people have questions, this is an opportunity to come in, watch my process, ask questions, stuff like that. But what I expect is for people to watch my previous videos and then start at the beginning and then just drag it to the end and then just see what I did with from start to end. So I don't really expect anybody to really watch these things. It's just good advertising. Shows people what I'm doing.
It was, in fact, the only place on Earth where it still flew. So as not to alarm their Japanese hosts, the Dutch merchants had attempted to conceal the demise of their nation to protect their lucrative and unique trade. And even after the Dutch East India Company had been dissolved in 1799,
thanks, buddy. See, now we got another viewer, so as long as that person stays here forever, we'll be happy, right? I would like more viewers, but it's these Facebook algorithms, man. Some days you're on fire. Some days I'll have like 3 people to 10 people watching me for like an hour or 2 hours, and then some days I'll have 0 watching me for the same amount of time, doing even better work. So it's totally just about the time of day you're doing it and the algorithms. And what am I about to use this brown pen for? This is the wrong pen. Why am I going to use this?
It changed the course of Japanese history and put it on the road to Perry's incursion.
Harry, I've already been drawn for a half hour. I guess I'm doing pretty good in terms of where I'm getting to.
The British naval ensign his true colours and demanded supplies of food, water, and
oh, the other guy left. I guess we're
to destroy Japanese and Chinese shipping. The Japanese were totally unprepared and ill-equipped to deal with the British raiders, and in the event, dozens of ships and thousands of samurai from nearby dominions had to be mobilized. But before they could fully deploy, Pellew, having determined that there was nothing of interest, had released his captives, taken the supplies, and sailed gracefully, arrogantly, and obliviously off into the distance without firing a shot. It seemed like a quiet end to an awkward standoff, but it was not the end for the Japanese. They were accustomed to respectful behavior from peoples they regarded as lower on civilization's ladder. This was the first sign that the barbarians might no longer know their place. It was a shock, a blow to national pride, and worse, there was nothing Japan could do about it. She had no means of applying military force beyond her borders or even protesting to a foreign government. The all-encompassing global European war, fought from the Americas to Java, had finally reached these tranquil lands where there had been little or no conflict in nearly 2 centuries, one of the longest sustained periods of peace in human history. Indeed, though no shot echoed around the steep mountains of Nagasaki Bay that day, the incident was to have far-reaching consequences. In response to the Phaeton and several other episodes in the coming decades, new Don't Think Twice regulations requiring all unknown foreign ships in Japanese waters to be immediately repelled by gunfire were introduced. Nagasaki and other strategic places on the coast now brimmed with artillery. The barbarians would not be permitted to humiliate Japan and her ruling clan, the Tokugawa, ever again. standing on Nagasaki docks and gazing intensely as Pellew humiliated his country with such ease was a 10-year-old called Takashima Shuhan. It was to be the defining moment of his life. During his teenage years, he saw that peace had eroded the warrior instincts the Japanese so prided themselves on. That would all have to change, and he was the man.
Oops, I just painted over the wrong spot.
In adulthood, he ordered a whole plethora of books on military science and working examples of modern weapons, cannon, mortars, and the latest handguns and rifles through Dutch merchants. He settled down to study how the barbarians made war, why they were so good at it, and strategize how to deal with the soon-to-come attacks on Japanese sovereignty that he foresaw. The military school he established attracted students from far and wide, and in the early 1840s, following China's devastating and epoch-defining defeat in the First Opium War, he was summoned to the capital Edo by Igawa Hidetatsu, a high-ranking government official charged with strengthening maritime defenses against the now widely expected European assault. Most in positions of authority now saw it was only a matter of when, not if. Lord Egawa knelt on the tatami, back ramrod straight with his sword displayed upright beside him. He calmed his mind to take it all in. Behind him, blue and white striped silken naku screens rustled gently. What he was about to observe, he hoped, could be the answer to the numerous problems his orders to improve defences had thrown up. His heart beat fast in nervous anticipation. Before him appeared 125 European-style rifle-wielding, uniformed infantry, divided into two companies. They marched, drilled, turned, stopped, loaded, and fired as one. No swaggering samurai moving in haphazard lines, dressed any way they pleased, no casually shouldered spears. Just neat, disciplined, minimalist movements. As the day progressed, Igawa witnessed the two companies and 4 cannon blasting an imaginary barbarian enemy from the field with ease. He was elated. Takashima's revolutionary squadrons could be deployed against the barbarians, using their own methods. Know your enemy, know yourself, win 100 victories. He knew his recommendations would meet opposition from those who preferred to bury their heads in the sand, but this was the future. This was the only way to protect the realm and ensure international relations on Japan's terms. Indeed, China had proved that valor and numbers alone were not enough. The celestial realm had fallen to only 4,000 troops like these. Japan could not, must not yield so easily. The charismatic lord understood that Japan needed the technology to make her own cannon. Not just the old-fashioned models, little change from 2 centuries ago, but great, powerful guns to deliver modern steamships to watery graves. The answer was the reverberating furnace to make higher-grade steel, and Igawa's plant was one of several to be attempted in the 1840s. This technology, far beyond most industrial process thus far attempted in Japan, took time to perfect, and it was not until the 1850s that they became operational. The guns were cast, and in the next stage of Igawa's plan, production
I didn't consider if I can use the infinity lasers right here.
These ships required the mastering
There's probably room in the scene, but we can just do it in the same style I did the last one.
And were a vast step forward, far beyond even the complicated furnaces themselves. Although a small prototype steamboat was constructed by 1855, just after Perry's visit, it was not for another 10 years that an effective, fully operational, modern vessel was manufactured. The Rio Fumani. In 1862, the slow progress on steamship technology caused Takashima Shuhan to advocate the purchase of 200 foreign steamships to ensure national security. This ambitious project was never fulfilled, although several dozen were in operation by the end of the decade. These including Japan's first ever ironclad warship, Kotetsu, which had been built in France for the American Confederacy but arrived too late to be much use in the Civil War. The USA sold it to Japan for $40,000 in 1867. With the benefit of hindsight, Takashima and Egawa's forward-thinking actions were obviously correct, but at the time it was far from clear. There were those in high-ranking circles who believed that spirit and bravery would be enough to win the day, as it had always been. Crucially, these men and women had never seen modern war machines in action and could not conceive of their size and power, nor could they even contemplate that these contemptible barbarians now considered themselves culturally superior. So, at the very time when drastic action was clearly needed, the government descended into infighting and inaction. The scholar Aizawa Seishisai described the debate in these terms. Some dimwits argue the warriors of our divine realm have been peerless throughout the world since antiquity. The barbarians are puny runts. There is no cause for alarm. True, the fighting men of our divine realm are brave and skilled in warfare, and our customs reinforce this. But times change. There are eras of weakness as well as strength. During the Warring States period, our warriors were truly fit for combat. Proper movements on the battlefield were simple, reflex actions. Our warriors proved their valor through actual battlefield achievements. But 200 years have passed since our warriors last tasted battle. How many of them today are trained well enough to cope with the sudden thrusts and feints, or the other complexities of warfare? We do not observe foreign troops directly, nor do we gather information about them. Once war breaks out, they may engage us in a totally unexpected way, so it is a poor idea to rely solely on our reputation for valor. In the end, Takashima Shuhan was put under house arrest in 1846 for subversion and treason. Egawa continued upgrading coastal battery emplacements, but was not permitted to develop land forces. And so, in 1853, when Perry steamed into Edo Bay, Japan was still hopelessly unequipped to deal with the intrusion. The arguments, infighting, and inability to perceive that the world had turned on its axis, and the East was no longer at its center, was to continue for more than a decade. Japan had rediscovered national humiliation and politics, as well as foreign diplomacy and war. These forces emanating from the actions of Commodore Perry would be the catalyst for civil war, and then a national rebirth, the Meiji Revolution. Japan was behind in technology, but not too far, and the foundations of the coming scientific and industrial revolution had been well laid. The Japan of the future would look nothing like that of the past. Clothes, diet, medicine, social relations, religion, architecture, agriculture, industry, culture, politics, education, and war. Every field of human endeavor would be virtually unrecognizable. But Japan would remain Japan, independent, proud, and adaptable. And the incredible changes that swept the nation, that is the second part of our story.
In the early years of the 3rd century, around the year 207 AD, a Chinese poet by the name of Cao Che made a journey back to the place of his birth, a city called Luoyang. At this time, the land of China journey can't have been an easy one. Cao Shi was the son of a powerful warlord in the central state of China, but he was also a notorious drunk. He had embarrassed his family to such an extent that he was exiled, and he now returned to the only other place he knew, his hometown of Luoyang. Luoyang had once been a prosperous place. For centuries, poets had written about its bustling life and its leafy avenues full of blossom, leading up to grand palaces and temples decorated with thousands of bronze statues. It had been the capital of China in the golden age of the emperors, which had lasted for more than 400 years. But Cao had heard that Luoyang had suffered in the recent wars. Still, when he came over the crest of the Beimang Mountains to the north, nothing could have prepared him for what he saw stretching out beneath him. The entire city of Luoyang was a blackened ruin. Later, he wrote a poem about what he saw.
不登北邙坂，遥望洛阳山。
I climbed the ridge of Beimang Mountain and looked down on the city of Luoyang. Luoyang is still exists. Palaces and houses all burnt to ashes. Walls and fences all broken and gaping. Thorns and brambles.
Became an emblem of the golden age that had now passed. Only decades before, China had been ruled by a single emperor from a dynasty known as the Han, and a period of prosperity had reigned. The Han were the first lasting dynasty to unite China under a single man, and people believed that this golden age would never end. But now the poet Cao Shi walked among the ruins of remnant fields of the fallen emperor. Rose up and the book became clear.
少参天，
I do not see elders in the former days. I only see young men. I turn aside, for the straight road is lost. The fields are overgrown and will never be plowed again. I have been away such a long time that I do not know what street is. How sad and ugly the fields are.
We're gonna give him a little halo, right? Because he's like God.
All those years, I have been protected.
能言。
As he walked across the bridge, Cao Shi was known as the first great age of China come to such
What'd you print?
Pattern.
why
For what?
It's that same tree pattern, but people said that they were able to make it smaller. I was trying to do that, but
Make it smaller?
huh?
Smaller?
Yeah, because if you look at it, like I fold that in half and it opens up. I have to make like 4 of those, and it's just so big. I don't want it to be that big, and it uses too much of the fabric, so I was just trying to make the pattern itself smaller. I don't know what the heck I'm doing, I guess. I'm pretty sure this is the same size as what I did. Or you can help me.
I can print it for you smaller.
Let me know when
My
you're done.
name's Paul Cooper,
Okay.
and you're listening to the Fall of Civilization podcast. Each episode, I look at the civilization of the past that rose to glory and then collapsed into the ashes of history. I want to ask, what did they have in common? What led to their fall? And what did it feel like to be a person alive at the time who witnessed the end of their world? In this episode, I want to look at the fascinating story of China's Han Dynasty, an Iron Age kingdom that forged the first true imperial power in China.
Nice.
He is a political activist. He is a writer and is a professor at MIT. He is exclusively and lectured around the world on linguistics, philosophy, and politics. He is widely credited as having revolutionized modern linguistics. He is the author of numerous books, including American Power and the New Mandarin, and also 9/11. Here is Hegemony or Survival, his newest book. I am pleased to have him on this program for many reasons, including the fact that I get more emails about please have Mr. Sean to get on this program than anyone could ever imagine. How do you explain this phenomenal connection between you and certainly an audience of people who are usually I think people who are, there's an enormous number of people who are involved in an informal, disorganized, activist dissident culture, and they tend to make their own connections outside the major institutional channels, which are not hospitals for them. And the internet has become a major form of interconnection, organizing, not just in the United States, everywhere. I mean, South Korea, for example, they recently elected a president using the internet for organizing communication and getting around the strong opposition of the media and the concentrated power to the popular candidate. We have to be very wired up society. I think has a higher penetration in South Korea, perhaps more than any other country except Singapore. But it happened to Indonesia when the Suharto dictatorship was overthrown. A lot of the organizing, a lot of it was student activism, and they were very hard to brutal society, but they did succeed through internet connections to organize political action, demonstrations, other activities, and it was a major factor leading to the overthrow of the dictatorship. Well, Howard Dean, I suspect, would say that one of the primary reasons he was able to get to this commanding position in the Democratic race for the presidency is the internet, allowing him both to communicate and to raise money. It's a sort of can also be a lethal instrument, but lethal in what? I'm sure you get, want to guess how many emails you get, but it can be overwhelming. And a lot of material, that's one of the problems with the internet. I mean, the good part of it is it's free and open, right? But of course that has the downside. That means that things go up that have no review or, support. And they fund the system. And so it's a mix, but it certainly has been an extremely effective way of allowing people to participate actively in even in everything from industrial societies to very repressive societies. So think of the World Social Forum, which is huge, and it's very 100,000 people last year, mostly internet organized. There's just no other means of intercommunication among highly diverse people. Most of them are somewhat, out of the power centers in their own societies, and this provides them a means of organizing, exchanging information, and interaction, and giving access to a far wider range of sources of information and analysis than they would get by picking up newspapers at the newsstands. Do you think regimes around the world ought to be frightened of the possibilities of the internet? I'm sure they are, including their own governments. Since the internet was, like most modern technology, came out of state systems. A lot of the economy relies on a dynamic state sector. The internet was developed in the Pentagon or something. Well, it was, because it was like MIT, but it came out of Pentagon funding and the Advanced Research Project Agency, the Pentagon, about in the early 60s, and remained inside the state system until the mid-90s. I think 1995 it was privatized. And since then, it's changed. I mean, before that, it was considered, it was called usually an information highway. After that, it's mostly called e-commerce. And the character of it changed. But there has been a lot of concern in power centers all over the world that it's just too free and open. And the question is, how can you shape it and modify it so it
These dragons are gonna look great.
So the means of controlling it that are being considered, as far as I understand, are mostly trying to lead people in particular directions. So they enter an internet portal, you have to sort of thrown off.
Give them horns instead of ears, and they're much prettier.
The idea is you have to
Those ears, and they have like a dog face. No, what's with those dragons, man? You gotta make a dragon out of cool. Dragons are interesting, but they're not that cool.
There's a lot of preference and popular actors for make it leave it entirely open, not people. If you were, if this would be your last day on the trip, not that far from, well, you're 475. Would you like what's said about you to be your political arguments or your contribution to the theory of linguistics? Maybe much truth I really don't care. And I'd like to see people follow up on the things that are interesting and important and productive and forget about the things that were violated and mistakes and so on. But if my name is attached to it, well, what then would you characterize it as your political intent, if you will? Well, play a certain role in reshaping the fields concerned with the human intellectual faculty, cognitive sciences, and linguistics. Some of it has been extremely productive, not in cooperative enterprise. And that's often running on its own in the political domain. And I would like to see people energize, participate, thinking for themselves, not subordinating themselves to systems of discipline and propaganda, either in the structure of life, in which money around, or in the doctrinal domain, so that people can become to use the
Well, it's an hour, so
systems of
my wife said she needs help with something, so I'll go see what she needs. First, just tearing through this thing. I'm enjoying myself.
the way they're taught to conform and do something about it. But that's legacy, I think. As I said, you said that I know nothing about linguistics. One of many subjects I know nothing about, but especially linguistics. Is there one question in the air in that whole realm that you would like most to know the answer to? No. Like everyone I've known, personal quirks, yes, there are some questions which are big mega questions, which for the research, they're a little beyond what you can study very much. You can pick away at them. But one kind of question, which is sort of a personal obsession, is that if you look at any language is a biological system, it's like our immune system, our visual system, just something humans have. It's highly specific to humans. You don't think any counterparts elsewhere in nature. You're in New York because of our mutual friend Edward Said, who passed away a month or so ago. Correct? Yeah. How many because your sense of what would be most whether it be culture, music, politics, many political including his prime concern, also a major concern of mine, that is much broader questions of justice, freedom, oppression, which he was much involved in too, and I was often so often, and then it was just a quick personal friendship. I could get arranged to talk about these things, but back in the around 20 years ago, 25 years ago, he began a as soon as you look at a map of what was proposed, you see the land sector and they broke up I was off about percentages and so on as the unit thing. If you look at the actual maps that were discussed, which unfortunately were not easily available in the United States, they showed them, but they weren't. As soon as you look at the maps, you see that what it effectively did was break the West Bank into three separate towns. So these were not contiguous territories? Well, they were technically contiguous, but only way around the edges. You wanted to go from Bethlehem to Ramallah, you were trying to go way east. So the three effectively separated territories, all again effectively separated from a little part of East Jerusalem, which is the traditional center of Palestinian cultural, educational, commercial existence. And it was a kind of a Pakistan situation, as was discussed in this time. And of course, it was all separated from Gaza. But, it's actually the meaning that was described by President Barak, chief negotiator Shlomo Ben Ami, he was the negotiator at Camp David, and he was an academic, and shortly before he entered the government, he wrote a book about it in Hebrew, in which he said the goal of the whole Oslo process, and leading to this, it would be what he called a permanent neo-colonial dependency. The Palestinians would be the neo-colonial, effectively modern colonial dependency. And in fact, that's what the proposal was.
Cool, Xavier. Well, I gotta go. But I'll give you a zoom in on what I'm adding in here. So, started working on the Avengers and Silver Surfer, and got the base coat done for Dark Carnage there. So, we're gonna have a dragon over there. Dark Carnage here. He's looking good. Another dragon in that corner, kind of coming out of the clouds. Silver Surfer, just laid down some base coat for him. He is just teeny. His whole body is about the size of my pinky nail. So he's going to be a pain in the ass to draw, but I put him in there, so we're doing it. Thor, laid down some silver and gray on him. We're going to have the Hulk, Captain America, Iron Man. Just to show that the big Avengers are also nullified. And it's never going to end. It's not just the spider people, it's everybody. Alright, I will be back on